Jennifer of Celtic Knot Crochet, and today in this video I'll be showing you how to make the Crochet Charm Ornament. This is an easy crochet pattern and uses a small amount of size 10 cotton crochet thread. I'll show you all the steps of the project, including which supplies I recommend, how to crochet this lacy part here in the center circle, how to attach it to a flat round ornament base, and how to add a variety of embellishments that you can find online or at your local craft store. So if you like this video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and make sure you click to subscribe. Let's get started. To make this project, you will need to know how to do a chain, slip stitch, single crochet, and double crochet. For this video, I'll show you first how to make the center circle and then add the lacy stitches around, and then I'll show you how to attach it to our clear ornament base. After that, I'll show you a variety of options that you can add to the center of your ornament to create different looks. Let's go over the supplies that you'll need to make the Crochet Charm Ornament. You need a very small amount of size 10 cotton crochet thread. This is very thin thread. It works great for Christmas ornaments. I love to use Aunt Lydia's in Classic 10. And these are some great colors, the red and this pretty green. This green is called Myrtle Green. And you can use Victory Red or Cardinal Red, looks great. You'll want a 1.5 millimeter number 2 steel crochet hook. These are by Clover, so they have a nice silicone handle that stays warm in your hands and helps to prevent cramping. And then you'll want an embroidery needle. It's basically like a yarn needle, but a lot smaller, which works better when you're using thread. You'll want one of these clear ornament bases. You see it's round, but it's not a sphere. It's a flat circle. These are great. I found some at Michael's that were glass. You can also find them at Hobby Lobby. And this particular one I ordered online. So all the links to these supplies are in the description below. This one is plastic, so it would work great if you have young kids or if you're sending this present to someone. It's not going to most likely get broken in transit. So this is approximately 3 inches across, is a really nice size. And then for charms, I'll go over those in detail in a minute, but just to give you a few here at the beginning of the video, you could use sequins, buttons, jewelry charms, even beads, and you could add those to your ornament for all kinds of different looks. So stay tuned, I'll explain more about the charms. And then whenever I'm making ornaments, I always have my trusty glue gun handy, and you might want some felt, and definitely you'll want a needle and some sewing thread to attach some of the charms, or some glue that's not hot glue but E6000, which is good jewelry glue. Again, check the description below for a list of all of the supplies. Since this project uses a tiny hook and thin thread, I'm going to demonstrate all the stitches using much thicker yarn and a much larger hook. So this is normally what we would use for this project. And I'm going to use this hook and some thick yarn so you can see the stitches better. So the first thing we're going to do is make an adjustable ring. I'm going to do it quickly here, but if you need a slow step-by-step video of just that, you can click up here. So I take the yarn end and wrap it around my non-dominant hand and cross it over like so. Then I put my hook under that loop I created and grab the working yarn and pull it up. And then the trickiest part is just pinching the bottom of that little loop I just made, and then I chain one to lock the adjustable ring in place, and then I'm going to chain 2 more. So I have 3 chains here, and I'm going to work 12 double crochets inside this ring. Double crochet, yarn over, hook in, yarn over, pull up, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. I'll do that 11 more times. Alright, so here I have all 12, and I'm going to pull that yarn tail, and this will cinch up that beginning ring. I pull it as tight as I can, so the ring pretty much disappears. And I'm going to skip over this chain 3 at the beginning, and I'm going to put my hook into that first double crochet we made, yarn over, and pull through everything for a slip stitch. And that closes up my circle. And I have this nice solid ring. Now we're going to work on round 2. So I'm going to chain 3. And this time, this chain 3 does count as my first double crochet. And I'm going to do another double crochet in the same stitch. And I'm going to do that in each stitch around, work 2 double crochets. This helps my circle to stay flat. So I have to add stitches so I don't have a curling circle. I want a nice flat circle for the front of my ornament. So work 2 double crochets in each stitch around, and you'll have a total of 24 double crochets, counting this one as 1 double crochet. Here I'm about to be completed with round 2. This is that starting chain 3, and I'm going to put a slip stitch into the top of that, yarn over and pull through everything to close up the circle. Alright, so now we're ready to do round 3. So for round 3 I'm going to chain 3, and this counts as my first double crochet again, and I'm going to put another double crochet right in that same spot. And now my next stitch I'm only going to work 1 double crochet. And I'm going to repeat this pattern around. So I'm going to do 2 in this one, 1 in the next, 2 in this one, 1 in the next, all the way around, and that will give me 30 double crochets. So 1, 2 in the next one, then 1 in the one after that, 2, and then 1. And I'll continue that all the way around and show you how to end it. Here I've completed the pattern of 2 and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way around to have 30 double crochets, and I'm going to put a slip stitch in that very top of the starting chain 3. Hook in, yarn over, pull through everything. And here is my center for the ornament. Now if you'd like, you can take your ornament and hold this up and see how it looks, because your tension or your yarn might be a little different than mine. But you want it to kind of look like this. You could add another round of the double crochet stitches, but I really liked all these lacy stitches to show, so I kept it kind of small. Across here it's about 1.5 inches, just to give you an idea of how it all fits together. Okay, so now we're going to move on to all the lacy stitches, and this is where the project really goes quickly. So this is going to be round 4. You're going to chain 1 and single crochet right in that same place that you put the slip stitch. Then we're going to chain 5, and we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. 1, 2. See, here's that first one, and then 1, 2. Skip those, and then we're going to put a single crochet in the stitch after that. And we're going to repeat that around. So chain 5, skip 2, single crochet in the next stitch. Chain 5, skip 2, single crochet in the next stitch. So continue that until you get to the last 2 stitches, and I'll show you what to do. We're going to do something special so that we don't, you'll see. Here we are at the end of row 4, and I want to end the last chain 5 space in the center, and there's this little trick you can do when you're working in the round for crochet projects. I learned this a long time ago when I first started crocheting, and I used pattern leaflets to make little thread ornaments. Okay, so you're going to chain 3, and then you're going to do a half double crochet in that first single crochet of the round. Yarn over, put your hook in, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. And you see how that puts us in the middle now of that last chain 5 space. Okay, so that is round 4 completed for you. Okay, now we're going to work round 5, and it's pretty much the same thing as round 4, except we don't have to skip stitches. We just work into each of these chain 5 spaces. So first I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to put a single crochet right here in this chain 5 space. Then I'm going to chain 5 and put a single crochet in the next chain 5 space. And I'll do that all the way around. So chain 5, single crochet in the next chain 5 space. I've gone all the way around with chain 5, and here I am at my last chain 5 space, but I'm not going to chain 5. I'm going to do like I did before. I'm going to chain 3, and then I'm going to put a half double crochet in that very first single crochet of the round. Yarn over, put my hook in, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. So I have 2 rounds now of chain 5 spaces. Okay, so now we're going to work on round 6, and it's very similar. We're just going to make longer chain spaces. So I'm going to chain 1 again at the beginning, put a single crochet right into this first space, and now I'm going to chain 7. And then I'll single crochet in the next chain space. Chain 7 again. And single crochet in the next chain space. So you could see here how it's making the lacy parts bigger because we've added 2 chains. And that's all there is to it for this round. So continue, chain 7, and then single crochet in the next space. Here we are at the end of the first chain 7 spaces, and we're going to do the same thing where we're going to do half of the chain 7 space and then work a long stitch into that first single crochet. So this time we're going to chain 4, and then we're going to put a double crochet into that first single crochet. So yarn over, hook in, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, through 2. And that puts us in the middle of that last chain 7 space. And so here we have the end of round 6. Now we're going to do the same thing for the next round. and I'll get you started. So we're doing chain 7 spaces again. Chain 1, single crochet into this first space, then chain 7, and then single crochet in the next chain 7 space. This is really opening up the lacy section of your ornament. So chain 7 and single crochet in the next space. And continue that around, and we'll end the same way, but I'll show you how to do it one more time just in case. So I've gone all the way around with the second round of chain 7 spaces, and here I am. This is my beginning single crochet, so I'm going to just do 4 chains and then double crochet in that starting single crochet. So I'm almost finished with the crocheting part of my project. I have one more round of chain spaces to do. So now we're about to do round 8, and we're going to do really big chain spaces. We're going to chain 10. Now you might have to adjust the 10 for your very top opening, and this is what I mean. So the chain 10 spaces are right here, and they go around just over into the back side of your ornament. And one of them we put the top of the ornament through. So I found with some of these ornament bases, this top was wide, but I really liked the 10. I didn't want to go bigger for all of them. So you'll just need to make one of the openings a little bit bigger in case you have a wide opening on your top. So you could chain 12 or 13 or 14. You might just have to experiment, and then you can pop it over here. Okay, so if you do it in your first one, then it's easy to remember, or you could use a stitch marker to mark it. So like we did the other rounds, we're going to chain 1, single crochet in that first space, which is basically the last chain space of the previous round, and then we're going to chain 10. And then we're going to single crochet in the next chain space. And you can see how it's getting bigger and bigger. All right, so just continue that around. Chain 10 and then single crochet in the next space. So here I am about to end the last round, and we want to do the same thing. I want to end in the middle of this big chain 10 space, and I'm going to chain 5, and then I'm going to do a double treble. So that is pretty easy to do. It just means you do a different number of yarn overs. So I'm going to yarn over once, twice, 3 times. Then I put my hook into that first single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, 5 loops on my hook, and then I just yarn over and pull through 2 several times. Second time, third time, fourth time. And that helps me to end right in the middle of that last chain 10 space. Okay? Now, if that was too tricky for you, you can just do chain 10 and end with a slip stitch here and fasten off. And then for your last round, where we add the crocheted piece to the ornament base, you can just start fresh here with a single crochet. So now we're ready to add the crochet piece to our ornament, and then we'll add a bunch of different embellishments. So before we put our crocheted piece on top of the ornament ball, you want to remove your hook and hold your working loop with a stitch marker or a safety pin. And this way our project won't come undone, and we can go back to this working loop later. So now that we've done all the way up to round 8, we're ready to attach our crocheted piece to the ornament base. But I wanted to show you one option that you could do, especially if you're going to make a lot of these. Then you want to do it as quick as possible. The center yarn tail and the adjustable ring, I like to anchor before I add the crocheted piece to the ornament. It's just much easier before we put it on, because as you see, once we put it on, we can't get behind that beginning circle here. So I'm going to take care of this right now. So I use my embroidery needle and I thread it onto that beginning yarn tail, and I'm going to pull it tightly. Now if I am not using a button, I will pull this as tight as I can. But because I'm using a button, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this little opening. So I'm going to leave it open slightly, and I'll zoom in here to show you. And I make sure that my yarn tail is now on the wrong side. You can see this is the wrong side because of how bumpy it is. This side it's all nice and smooth, so this is the front. And I'm going to pick up a couple loops around that center and put my needle through to create a loop, and then I'm going to go back through that loop before I pull it all the way. Then I pull it tight, and that's just creating a knot, and I'm going to do that twice so I have a nice knot and that adjustable ring doesn't come undone. And then I can weave this through a little bit. And again, if I'm not using a button, I would weave this yarn tail in a little bit longer and then trim it off, and I'd be all set to go on to the next step. But if you want to use a button that has a loop on the back or a shank, there are two options. You can cut that off with some pliers or snips, or you can put that through the center hole that I left a little bit open. So I'll press the crochet around that, and then I'll use that yarn tail. So I will go through the shank and loop around several times and tie it on nice and tightly, and then I have the button secured and I don't have to try doing it while the crocheted part is on the ornament ball. So this is just an easy little thing to do. You could do this when you add any of the charms, actually. Sometimes I like to wait until they're all finished because I'm not sure what will look best until I see it on the ornament. But if you know what you want to do and you've already made one as an experiment and you know that you want to include this, then by all means do it before you add it to the glass or plastic base. Now if you'll remember, we made one of our chain 10 loops a little bit larger so it can fit over this top stem of the ornament. So some are thinner than others. So some of the first ones I made weren't as big as this one, but this one is pretty thick. So I needed to make one of these chain 10 loops a little bit bigger. I did a chain 12 and I marked it with a stitch marker so I can remember which one it is. And then here is my safety pin marking where I left off, the end of round 8. So now to begin round 9, I'm going to chain 1, single crochet in that same stitch, and then I'm going to chain 3 and single crochet in the next chain 5 space. Then I'm going to chain 2, single crochet in the next, it's a chain 10 space. And you might need to experiment. We're going to alternate chaining 3, single crochet, then chain 2, single crochet. But you might need to chain 4 or 5 depending on how yours reaches around your ornament base. So again, your first one, you might have to make some notes about how many chain spaces or chains you needed to do to make it fit around the ball nicely. So we're going to go about halfway around. Okay, so it's all coming together here, and I'm going to extend my working loop so it doesn't come undone. And I'm going to find that one that I marked with the stitch marker, since it's my largest chain loop. And I'm going to remove the cap gently and place that larger chain loop around the top. I want it nice and snug. Again, you could experiment with this and make sure you have the right size. So chain 12, if you buy the ones in the description below, you'll want to do a 1 chain 12 space. And then I just slide the crocheted lacy crochet piece around the rest of the ornament. It's very easy, like so. And you can see on the back how it makes this pretty starburst look. And I'm just kind of holding it in place with my non-dominant hand as I do the remaining chain 2s and chain 3s with a single crochet. So chain 2, and then put it right in there. And it gets a little tricky. This is the hardest part probably, holding it steady while you finish working your way around. But you can see how it looks really pretty and closes up. Now here, if I pull my last, this is my beginning right here, and the end, I might need maybe 4. So I'm going to go and do 4 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, just to give me a little bit more. And put my hook into that chain 12 space there on the top. You see how I did that there? So I can zoom in and do that again for you. Take that out. So I did a chain 4, but it looks like maybe I could even do a chain 5. So I'm going to chain 5 just to make sure that I can reach up to the center back. And then to get into that loop, that chain space, I just kind of worked my hook around from the side and then make my single crochet. Trying to keep it nice and snug is the trickiest part. Okay. Like that. And then chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm going to put a slip stitch right in that first single crochet of the round. Yarn over and pull through everything. And then I just adjust it a little bit to make it even on the back and the front. So you could see here I did chain 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, and then it starts to get a little taut, so I did 3 here and then 5 and 5 to just help that reach all the way around. And then on the front I have my pretty lacy circle here. Okay. So I love how this button looks, but for a future one I might cut the shank off and glue it on with some E6000. So for buttons, that's what you might want to do. And to show you how to just weave this in, I do the same method that I did on the center, in that I go back in and then go through that loop here to make a knot, and I do that at least twice because I don't want my project coming undone, especially if it's a gift. I want it to last a long time. So pull it so it's nice and tight, and then I'll just weave it in and out of one of these chain lengths here. Go down through this other one. Like that. And then trim the excess off. And then I just put the top back on, squeeze it, and place it inside. The silver top is very bendable and delicate, so you just want to be careful when you do that. But it looks nice on top, gives a nice added sparkle. There you go. So let me show you how I like to add the other embellishments. So I just wanted to show you what some options are for charms to add to your ornament. Here from Hobby Lobby, they have great prices on all of their buttons, and their buttons are so pretty. So you could use any one of these buttons for the center. I love these. And they would look really pretty with Christmas lights. So you just take those off and sew them on. They have the little shank, and you can sew those on. Another thing you can do is you can use a variety of jewelry charms. And again, I bought these when they were all on sale at Hobby Lobby. They have a line called Charm Me, and then they have Bead Design Company, this little butterfly. They have Metal Gallery as well. This one I like, With God, All Things Are Possible. And the scripture reference there on the back. So that little tag would look really pretty right in the center of your ornament. They have Fairy Tale here with some sparkly gems that you could sew on. And of course I like the Celtic knot charms too. And they all come with a loop on top because they're meant to be added onto jewelry, bracelets, necklaces, things like that. And you could just use sewing thread and sew them on right through that loop. Another thing you could do is you could add some sequins. You could glue them on or sew them on. I can show you how to do that. Typically with sequins you use a little bead to anchor the sequin since it has a hole in the center. But there's these large snowflake ones, flower ones, stars. You could do letters. Another great thing you could use to embellish your ornament are some beads. And again, all these things I bought when they were on sale, so they were 50% off. But this is like a, sort of looks like a snowflake, sparkly bead, some sparkly butterfly shapes that you can just sew or glue right on. Star always looks pretty for Christmas. These two were cute with the Christmas decorations. They're little mint beads with a little loop on top, so you could sew that on. And something else I thought was really neat, in the wedding section, you can find these. They're called jewel scatters, so they don't have any kind of attachment on the back, but if you use some E6000 glue, you can glue these right to the center of your ornament. They're super sparkly. And this would be cute too. These are called bouquet frames. They're meant to go on a bouquet, but they have the little loop here, so you could just put a picture inside and sew that to the center of your ornament. So there are so many ways that you can customize this project. I'm going to show you how to do the basics, but here's some ideas to get your creative juices flowing. Another fun embellishment is to just use some beads. Again, find these at your local craft store and cut the thread that they're on, and this is a really pretty butterfly bead, and I'm just using, again, sewing thread and a sewing needle so it can fit through the hole of the bead. And again, you can sew this on before you put the crochet on your ornament or after, like I'm doing. And it's pretty easy. I'm using white thread because I don't really want it to show down the center of the bead. And the trickiest part is holding it in place here, so I'll just go back through the crocheted piece and pull it nice and snug. And I can trim off all that excess later. I just want to make sure it's nice in the middle. So there are so many pretty beads, and then you can make something. If you know someone who loves butterflies, this would be a really pretty, unique ornament to make them. Or you could find a bead with their first initial on it. Again, because there are so many things available, you can make so many different ornaments that all look different. And then I'll just make sure that I put a knot there on the back. That can be a little tricky, again, when it's attached, but if I pull it out like this, and I'll just make a knot like I did before, where I feed it through, put it through a stitch, and then go back through the loop, pull it nice and tight, and trim off the excess. And I'll trim off this excess here. And there we go, there's the bead. So there's the bead version. There are many different types of charms that you can find in your local craft store or online. You'll find them in the jewelry section most likely. And I love all these little charms. They're fun to add to jewelry, but also projects like this. So if you remove the charm, you'll see that there's this little jump ring on top, and you can use that to sew the charm right to your project. Or you can remove that jump ring, and most charms have another little ring on top. So either one is fine for you, and you can add it right like this. Or what I thought would be nice is to add a felt heart like so, and then the charm on top of that. Of course it's slippery because it's fabric. So I just, before I put the felt onto my project, I used needle and matching thread and sewed it on like this. Just going around like so. So it's on there nice and secure, and then knot it on the back where it's not going to show. And then I use my hot glue gun to glue the heart right at the center of my ornament. And you can do this with anything. You could use a felt shape because it's nice and quick. Another thing that you can use are sequins. Again, they're very easy to find online and at your local craft store. I love these large iridescent snowflake sequins. And if you look, sequins usually have one hole in the center. So I would, again, use some sewing thread and a sewing needle. And I'm going to come up through the center of my crochet circle here, and then I'll come up through the center of my sequin. And then this is a really neat and easy sewing technique for when you sew on sequins. You use a seed bead. This is kind of a large seed bead. Can you see it there? You can use a smaller one. I happen to have these handy. And you put your needle through that so you could see it there. See how I stacked it on top? And then I'm going to go back down through the sequin but not through the bead. And I want to come out behind here. So this particular one could be a lot easier if you do it before you put your crochet project on the ball. Okay, so see how I did that? So now you have the sequin, and then the seed bead locks the sequin on. You could glue the sequin on, but I like doing the sewing technique with the little seed bead. And I'll just do it again. Come back up and through the seed bead and the sequin, then back down only through the sequin, like that. And then same thing, I'm going to put a knot on the back side of my circle, just like I did before. So again, it's a little tricky because I already have it on there, but I just find a little loop on one of the stitches and put my needle through there. Do it one more time. Pull it nice and tight, and then cut off the excess. And there you have it. That's a pretty sequin that you can add. And I found some pretty star sequins. You could sew several of them on, or you could glue on the circle ones. Gluing is just as easy. You could glue on gems as well. Flat back gems work really nicely for embellishments. So I found this neat little embellishment in the wedding section of Hobby Lobby, and it's a mini photo frame, and I just printed out a tiny photo that was the same measurements as this frame, which it's less than 1 inch, of my dachshund, and I put it inside. But I just wanted to show you real quick. It attaches just like the charms, and I just wanted to show you that inside there are, can you see them? These 2 pieces of acetate, and they mimic having a piece of glass, and there should be 2, and if you can separate them, you put them on either side of your photo. Oh, maybe the other one's still in there. Oh, the other one's still in there. So you want to put your photo in between these 2 pieces of acetate, and that helps seal in the photo nicely. And then you just sew it on through that loop, as you can see I did here, with matching sewing thread. And you've got a cute little photo ornament using a wedding charm. So I think if you just think about all the things you might have in your craft supplies and in your stash. You'll come up with a lot of ideas of what you can add to this center circle. So I thought that some of my completed crochet projects or pieces of them could be used in the center. So I have several flower patterns, I have a heart pattern, and I have this Celtic Christmas tree earring that would look really pretty, just hot glued right here to the center of this ornament. And I might even add that little gold star bead that I do for the pattern. You can find the link to that pattern in the description below, and you can find a link to all of my free patterns on my blog that have several small crochet motifs that you could also add to this project. So I hope you enjoyed making this crochet charm ornament. I hope you enjoyed gifting this project and or hanging it up in your own home at Christmas time. Make sure to click on the description below to find out more information about this pattern. And don't forget to watch the next video. Merry Christmas!